Our people are suffering and starving. And we all have to ask ourselves the question, why is that so? Why is it that this country that is so wealthy has a people who are so poor? And it comes down to one phrase. It is a lack of accountability. For the last 40 years of ZANU-PF government, we have seen the squandering of our wealth, where a tiny oligarch has become obscenely wealthy on the backs of poor people. But how has that happened? Because they have not been held accountable. They have squandered state resources, national resources for their own benefit at the expense of the people. How do we as a party intend tackling that? Well, it's a basic principle that charity begins at home, that we have to be the change that we want to see in society. And so when the MDC Congress, the MDC Alliance Congress was held in June last year, one of the most important resolutions at that Congress was that we would be held accountable to the highest international standards ourselves. And we resolved that our accounts would be submitted to an independent audit by a firm of chartered accountants internationally recognized. And that is what we have done. And so today, ladies and gentlemen, may seem to be a relatively insignificant small step, but we believe it is a momentous step, not just in the life of this political party, but in the life of our nation. Because through the publication of these accounts, we are saying we are subjecting ourselves to be accountable for public funds. Most of the funds referred to in this document are public funds that were handed to the party in terms of the Political Parties Finance Act. And we are going back to the public primarily to say that these are your taxpayers' monies that you worked hard to generate. This is how we spent them. And in doing this, we are saying that when we come to power, and it's not if, it's a matter of when Advocate Nelson Chamisa is President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, we will apply the standard that we are applying to ourselves, to every public institution, and to our nation, so that state funds are correctly accounted for and properly spent. So we tender this document today. It is a small document. Our accounts have been audited, as I say, by an independent firm for the period 27th of May, which was the date all of us were elected in Bury, to the 31st of December 2019. They show that our accounts are in order. It is an unqualified audit that we have received from this independent firm, which in essence, in layperson's terms, states that our accounts are in order. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I fully appreciate that you yourselves today have not had sight of the accounts, and so to that extent you will not be in a position to question us. We are going to make available a copy of the accounts which have been signed by the Secretary General and myself, so that you can scrutinize them. I recognize that you won't be able to perhaps ask the questions that you want to, but in the spirit of transparency, you can email me, and I undertake that I will respond to your questions in writing, or if you want further interviews, so that you can interrogate these accounts. But I thank you very much for coming today. I thank my colleagues, in particular, may I thank the President, Advocate Chamisa, who has steadfastly supported this call made at Congress, and has supported all of us in leadership in arriving at this moment. Thank you.
Members of the press, as is the practice at our press conferences, we're going to just take 2 or 3 questions from you before we conclude the business of the day today. Yes, Leslie.
Thank you. My name is Leslie from Arkansas Radio and Newsday.
I'm just going to ask ask you to raise your voice a little bit so that the Treasurer General can hear and appreciate your question.
As you present your audited account, there was concern or there was allegation that there was 2 million that went missing. Now, did your auditors look into that, and what was the final verdict of the auditors?
Thank you for that question. The auditors looked at our entire books of account, including all state funds that came out, and they found that those allegations were baseless.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just maybe to enlighten us on what we should expect in the report, audit report. Can you just briefly take us through maybe when you started the audit, what funds are we talking about, how much was there, just maybe a summary of the expenditure, and maybe the balance at the moment. If there's anything else, maybe you can just add, just in brief, at least this will assist us.
Just a small...
Certainly, I'll give you a shortened version. So the accounts show that our income for that period in 2019, and I stress it was only for the period 27th May to 31st December, was a sum of 6,277,000. The bulk of that was from government, from the Political Parties Finance Act, and there was a minimal amount of donations from our supporters and, of course, membership subscriptions. During the period, we ended up with a surplus of 743,000 Zimbabwe dollars, I stress, at the end of the year.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Just to know, what is the basis of presenting the 2019 audited reports now towards the end of 2020?
Thank you.
Why did it take you this long?
Ma'am, I'm in a law firm. I'm the senior partner of the law firm. Because of COVID, our own audit has not been completed, and that is the position right across the country. If you speak to Zimra, people have got tax extensions right across the country because the accounting profession itself was affected by that. Its offices were closed, it had a backlog. So that's the main reason. The other reason, of course, is that government illegally cut off our funding this year. We were entitled to $7 million, which has illegally now been transferred to a party who got something like 45,000 votes in 2018. Because of that, we were unable to meet our financial obligations to the accounting firm. Thankfully, we have now, through our supporters and primarily through our membership base worldwide and within Zimbabwe, raised sufficient funding to pay the firm of accountants. We owed them a fee that we'd contracted them to do. They do not do this for free. And so once we had paid them, they were able to continue with the audit. But let me stress that they started this in February, but then there was this long hiatus, partly because of our inability to pay them due to, ironically, government's failure to pay us, but also partly due to COVID.
Thank you. I'll take 2 final questions and then we'll close our presser. Yes, sir?
There were allegations a few months before that the party is in red. Is this what is also being shown in the report?
So these accounts show that we were in the black at the end of the year. Obviously, with the cutting off of government funding, and I stress illegally this year, this is a complete breach of the Constitution and the Political Parties Finance Act. The cutting off of that money with a membership support base running into hundreds of thousands, and the transferring of that money to a political party that at best has 45,000 supporters, had a critical effect, a damaging effect, obviously, on our cash flow. But I'm happy to report that because of the rejuvenization of our party and our new website and other things that the SG and I have been working hard on, we are back in the black. Only just, but let me tell you, in the context of this COVID-afflicted economy, it is remarkable that we are in this state.
Thank you. We'll take one last question and then close the press. Yes, sir.
I just need clarity on the figures. You indicated that you received 27 million, but you spoke of 6 million in your presentation. You spoke of 6 million in your presentation, and the donations that came, say, for foreign currency, how would you take that in that 6 million?
So I think that I perhaps didn't make myself clear. The 7 million was the amount that we were entitled to in March this year. The 6.2 million was the amount we received last year, the bulk of which came from the Political Parties Finance Act, which was some 5 million, and the balance of that was what came in from our membership rates. I hope that clarifies that.
Okay, members of the press, all that remains is for me to thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very, very much, and thank you, Senator Coltart. Thank you.